Hey everybody, this is part of episode 3 of my memoir. If you noticed, I'm being very personal and sharing a lot of things, being very transparent. I'm not really holding back. And episode 3, you'll see, is really very personal, maybe too personal for some. But I really get into the past and things that did in the past that I'm not too proud of, that I overcome. And I want to share these things with people because I want them to know and you to know, if you've been through anything, you are not alone. And that's the whole idea. Episode 3 coming up right now. If you haven't seen episode 1 and 2, you really should, because you will not understand the context, and context is quite important. All right, enjoy. Thank you for watching.
Episode 3, The Dark Room Pact, Rooming with the Truth on Abercorn Street. I arrived in Savannah in 1985 as a 6'4" ghost in my own skin. I was a country boy with a heavy accent who believed he was a monster, just looking for a place to hide in an art classroom. But before I could learn to paint, the streets of Savannah decided to teach me the truth about shame, survival, and a moment on Abercorn Street that changed my soul forever. This is how the monster finally found a compass. Let's talk about Savannah. From 1985 to 1990, I was a student at the Savannah College of Art and Design, SCAD. I arrived there thinking I was just going to learn the technical side of art. But the city was preparing to give me a much deeper, much more brutal education than any classroom could ever offer. The Savannah I lived in was vibrating with the frequency of the crack epidemic. You didn't just see the desperation. You breathed it in like thick, heavy air. It was on every corner, thousands of people caught in a cycle of total disappearance, while the rest of the world just looked right through them. I was 6'4", well over 300 pounds, and I was caught in a cycle of my own. I was walking those streets convinced I was a monster, still wearing the brand my stepfather had burned into my soul as a child. I was starving for a human touch, for some kind of warmth to break the ice that had formed around my spirit. But I didn't believe I had the right to even ask for it. I'd find myself in those Savannah strip clubs occasionally. Back in those days, the women were completely nude. I'd sit there in that dim, neon-soaked light, and I was terrified. My whole body would go rigid with nerves. I was so paralyzed by my own insecurity, so convinced that a monster didn't belong in a room where beauty existed, that I couldn't even force a smile. One of the dancers would come up to me, look right into my eyes and say, "Smile, honey, smile." But I couldn't. I was a ghost in my own skin, watching a world I didn't think I was allowed to join. In 1988, I finally lost my virginity. It had just rained, and the Savannah streetlights were reflecting off the wet pavement like liquid gold. Through all my extreme nervousness, I saw her standing on the corner, a young black girl, probably in her mid-20s. She was beautiful, and I'll never forget that dress. It was yellow with delicate little white flowers. She was a crack addict, struggling like so many others, but she was so gentle with me. She was patient while I fumbled through my fear and my total lack of experience. But even though she was kind, the truth of that night is that it felt like a transaction. It was robotic, it was mechanical. I was too young and too stupid to even know I needed a condom, but she was the one who provided it and looked out for me. Still, there was no real intimacy. There was no soul in it. I was desperately looking for love, for a real connection, but I could never find it because I had zero confidence. I felt like I was just going through the motions in a body I didn't even own. It wasn't a beautiful milestone. It was a hollow, mechanical event that left me feeling just as empty as I was before. I started a pattern then. When I could afford it and had $20 to spare, I'd pick up women on the corner. They'd get in my car, my heart hammering against my ribs, and we'd find a place to park. I'd lean the seat back, and she would give me oral sex. In the silence of that car, the shame felt absolute. I felt like I was betraying my own soul just to feel 5 minutes of a closeness that wasn't close at all. It was a terrifying, hollow way to live, always keeping one eye on the rearview mirror for the police spotlights to cut through the dark. Luckily, we never got arrested, but the weight of it stayed with me. Photography became my literal survival. I didn't hide away in a dark room. I lived on the streets of Savannah with my 35mm SLR. I walked those blocks day and night, taking pictures all over the city, capturing the raw, beautiful reality of a place that was hurting. I spent countless hours framing the world through that lens. When I developed my own prints, those 8x10s, they were beautiful. They were the only proof I had that even when I felt like a monster, I was still capable of seeing and creating something of worth. But back at the SCAD dorms, the air was toxic. The persecution from the entire dormitory was too much. It wasn't just Ward and Allen, those wealthy, yuppie architecture majors. It was the fact that they had successfully poisoned the entire floor. It was a collective assault on my spirit. They turned my southern roots, my strong country southern accent, and my weight into a communal joke. They'd even stand over me and laugh while I was on my knees praying, turning my private conversation with God into a public punchline. Then, one afternoon, I was walking down Abercorn Street. I remember every molecule of that moment. I remember exactly where I was standing and what I was wearing. The streetlights were casting that specific Savannah glow over the pavement. And suddenly, it was as if something fell out of the sky and landed deep inside me. A sudden, violent clarity, an awakening. In that second, I saw the root. I realized that the elitism of those wealthy students, the cruelty of my stepfather, and the racism I was taught back in Waverly were all the exact same poison. They were all branches of a single system of human value. I saw the colonial blueprint of our entire culture, a machine designed to categorize, rank, and dehumanize so that people at the top can feel like kings. Standing on that street, I saw my life in the context of that system. I saw the fat phobia, the bruises my stepfather left on my soul while he screamed "Fat Monster" in Daytona. I saw the elitism, Ward and Allen using their status and wealth to mock my strong country southern accent and my very existence. And I saw the racism, the soft click on the phone extension back in Waverly, the moment I used a slur to please my mother and heard Magoo's heart break on the other end of the line. I understood then that bigotry is a parasite, born from a deep, shivering sense of internal inferiority. People like Ward and Allen, and even my stepfather, were so terrified of their own insignificance that they needed to project inferiority onto me just to feel like they existed. I realized that racism, elitism, and fat phobia are all the same lie. Standing on Abercorn, I made a pact with God. I looked at that ladder of value and I chose to step off of it. I swore I would never participate in that filth again. I decided I would no longer be a product of my environment. I would be an individual. I would be an activist. The monster didn't die that day. You don't just erase 20 years of bruises and shame with one moment of clarity. But for the first time in my life, that monster had a direction. I found a way to take all that pain and turn it into a weapon against the very things that created me. I realize now that my suffering was the key component to this transformation. If I hadn't suffered, I don't know if I would have ever developed the empathy I have today. But it wasn't just empathy. That pain forged a passion against hate and bigotry that burned right through me. My suffering gave me the eyes to see what the world was doing to people, and it gave me the fire to stand against it. My soul finally had a compass, but I didn't know yet how hard the world was going to try and break it. My pact was about to be tested by a man who didn't trust me, a system that wanted to lock him away, and a reality of white America that I could no longer ignore. In the next chapter, I meet Reggie, and the theory of my awakening meets the hard, cold truth of the streets. Watch episode 4, Reggie and the System, coming soon.